Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. We're going to be talking about the CRM system that you already have. I know everybody's really excited for this. We had lots of registrations for this webinar, so we want to jump straight in. Just a couple pieces of housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them into that question box. I will get them called out and Tom will get them answered for you. And this webinar, along with all of our webinars, is being recorded, so you'll be able to access the recording later this afternoon on our website, which is, of course, anovia.com. So without further ado, Tom, I hand it right over to you.
Thanks, Abby. Good morning, everyone. It's quite a full house today, so we appreciate everyone taking time and joining us this morning. We've had an awful lot of questions over the past several months, particularly regarding the differences between dynamic CRM and what do we have in NAV and what should we do. And so we found that people are often quite surprised by the amount of functionality that is available to you as NAV users. And so we'll spend a little bit of time this morning so that you can see exactly what is available to you and how you can get more out of the product that you already own. As everyone can see my screen, Abby, my screen showing up okay? Yeah. Good. So what I've done here is opened up NAV to the role of a sales manager. And as is the case, or should be the case, your role should be configured to give you the information that you're looking for as you go through your day. So this particular sales manager is keeping an eye on open orders. They're looking at the quotes that they have open, and they can see the opportunities, the sales opportunities that they have in progress. You'll notice that they do have the color coding set on, so you can turn on the sort of stoplight, good, bad, or indifferent, and you do that simply by setting the little gears here, and when you click on those, it'll open up the cues, and you can identify your criteria for, how many sales quotes should we have open, or how many opportunities do we want to follow through a process. In addition, we've got the charts so that we can see graphically how many sales orders are released, how are we doing in sales performance, maybe by product line or by key account. And so it gives us a nice dashboard. Also gives us some notifications, so if I can see customer service issues that are going on, in this case it looks like we've had a bit of a product issue. And if I had a question on one of those, I could actually click on it. It would bring up the actual sales order where I have the question. I could answer and respond to them using that notification. And I could either send that to a person, which in this case I'll send it to myself just so it shows up, or I could just make the note that recognizes that I've resolved this so that we've got a nice audit trail as to what's going on. In addition, and I'll go to departments just for a moment so that we get a broader view. Under sales and marketing, you have a section called marketing. So we'll spend some time in each one of these areas, but we have contacts, we have campaigns, we can segment our potential contacts, and I'll talk about that just a little bit more. Opportunities, to-dos, we can do duplication and clean up our database. We can track our campaigns. We can do questionnaires, mailing groups, a lot of the things that you would expect to see in a full-fledged CRM system. And again, this is all included in the system that you own. In sales, we have our sales teams. We can have salesperson to-dos. So if we have team selling, we can assign individual salespeople to a team. We also do, what gets a lot of people excited is that somebody goes off to a conference and they see some really sexy pictures. They see a pipeline funnel and they see some pie charts, and people say, man, We have got to have that. We've got to have a better feel for what's going on in our organization. And that all starts with a sales cycle. You have to be able to define what it means to be at each step of the funnel. And I'll talk a little bit about that and show you how all of that works. So as we go back and all of this begins, the thing that got people excited, right, was the funnel and the pretty pictures. And so I've built a little dashboard here. This comes out of Power BI. Power BI is free to most users. Might cost a few dollars a month for some more robust users. But this is a dashboard that I built to track my sales funnel. So this is looking back at our opportunities. So I can see I have 487 opportunities. It represents $2 billion in sales. It's weighted, meaning depending on where it is in the pipeline here, it's $461 million. And as you can see with Power BI, and this isn't really a Power BI demo, so I won't spend a lot of time here, but if I wanted to see, you know, which stage or a particular part of my pipeline, if I click on that, it actually updates the sheet so that I'm seeing just this information. I can also have a little bit more of a granular view, I suppose. So if I wanted to track by gross margin or individual item sales, I could do that. And so I can begin to do a little bit more granular reporting as well. But all of this is feeding directly from my NAV system. And so when I hit the Get Data button, it would allow me to go to a service, and I can go down and find my Dynamics NAV. And when I connect to this, it's simply going to ask you where your OData feed is. And so you load in your OData feed, and now these dashboards that I've shown you will be available to you for your reporting. So what drives all those pretty pictures is the data. And so we'll start just a little bit with our contacts. And so if I want to look at particular contacts, you can see the dark tells me I've got a company. If there's lighter and it's slightly indented, that means that these are contacts beneath this company. So if I wanted to search for a particular contact, in this case I want to find Mindy Martin, and even though we can see her, I'm going to type Martin. Whoop, I have to spell it right. And you'll see it'll search. It does a string search. So Mindy Martin showed up, also Benjamin Martin. If Martin was a middle name, it would have found that as well. And so I can have a quick look at Mindy. I can use my ribbon. So if I wanted to see quick statistics on Mindy, I could see the number of interactions we've had. If we have costs set up, so if I have brochures and I know that those brochures cost me money, if I know that I've said, hey, a sales call costs us, you know, $500 or $600 or $700 to get someone on site, I can identify those costs with a particular interaction type. I can see the number of opportunities that come from our interactions and what our total value is. If I wanted to drill in, any blue number that you see is completely drillable. So I can go in and take a quick look as to how we've been doing with Mindy. Are we winning? Are we losing? And what's our general track record? I can also see to-dos, and so I could have done that from my contact card. Or as a sales manager, maybe I want to just keep an eye on all the to-dos that are going on. And so I can sort by any column that's in here. I can see, you know, maybe I want to look by date or by salesperson. So if I sort this by salesperson, it switches that column. In a lot of cases, maybe I want to do a quick filter. So maybe I only want to look at Peter's activities. And so if I filter to this value, now I'm just looking at the to-dos for Peter. And if I wanted to look, maybe I was going to assign an inside rep to work with Peter a little bit to help follow up. I could save this. So if I save this view, and I called it Peter's to-dos. Then what's going to happen over here where you see the past dues, John's past dues, this screen's going to reload. And now I'll have Peter's over there as well. So if I have an inside team that helps support my sales staff, I could have their reps that they work with right here and the filters right in front of them. So if one of their customers calls or I need to do a quick follow-up, I don't have to search through everyone's activities. I can see just the to-dos that are associated with the rep that I'm trying to help. We support, as we work through our activities and our to-dos, many times people say, well, what about Outlook? We support complete Outlook integration, and so if I load this up, you can see that the Outlook integration is set up, and you can determine which entities you want. So you can contacts, people, tasks. You can define any one of the Outlook sync entities, and it will determine who it's going to sync for. So each user could sync a little bit differently if they wanted to. You can also do a drag and drop, and so if I went back to my role center just for a minute, maybe I have a conversation with a customer about a particular sales order. And so if I go into John Haddock here and I've had a conversation and they sent me over an email with some specific specifications or some instructions, I could go over to my Outlook and say, look, because the balance that we find is that you actually don't want to sync every single email. That's a lot of clutter. But I do want to sync the key information. And so you'll see I've had a little bit of interaction and I've saved those. But if I grab an email, and so if I scroll down here, I'll try to find one. So here's one that has an attachment. So I will grab this one and I'll drag it over, and that's going to spin, and once that attaches, so the drag and drop works right from Outlook, it's going to attach this to this sales order, and it will remain with the sales order even after it posts. So now I'm going to delete this out of my Outlook. So now it's gone from Outlook. I'll close Outlook so that that's gone as well. But you can see that the email is still here. And so if I click on this, it's going to open it up, and it even saves the attachment. And I can look at the attachment as well. So, really great drag and drop for the key information that we might want to have for a particular sales order or purchase order. We also have the ability then to build, as we go through our to-dos and we start to create our opportunities. What drives all of that are sales cycles. And so I'll go into our cycles here, and these are the steps that we go through typically to sell a customer something. And so these are examples. So in your case, maybe you've got collegiate accounts, or you've got healthcare accounts, or you've got different industry verticals that you go after. And each one of these could have a different approach. In this case, I've got large and small, and a first-time large and a first-time small. And then for each one of these, we have stages. And so as I bring up my stages, you'll see that I'm on my existing customer large opportunity. And so it says, look, I've got 5 steps that I normally go through. I've got an initial contact, I've got a needs meeting, I've got a presentation, a proposal, and signed contracts. And this percentage is what drives the pretty funnel that we see on the dashboard that I showed you. And so when we take an opportunity through these steps, this is how it determines, am I 10% to win? Am I 70% to win? And we control all of that through this process. You can also give your salespeople some latitude. One of the common responses that we get from salespeople as we begin to roll out these systems is, they push back. Do you want me selling or do you want me entering data? Well, the fact is, as a company, we need you to do both. But you can give them some latitude. You can allow them to skip a step if you choose to. You can also require that a quote gets generated when they reach a particular step. So you can have some control there. I don't have formulas built into this one, but I could start to build in some additional follow-up that says, look, after you've made your initial contact, within 2 weeks, I want you to move on to the second step. And if not, I want this to show up as late. And so you have the opportunity to do that as well. And, as you can see, if we switch to a different one, the stages look totally different. So this one has 7 steps in it. And so each different type of sales process can have different stages associated with it. And then you can also check, so if I wanted to have a quick look, I can always look at the statistics for a particular account. So you can see this is the first time large, and I can see at a glance I've got 5 opportunities representing about $100,000 in total sales, but because they're so early in the process, it's only a few $100s in weighted steps. So then how this rolls up, and I'll just type a little bit further, if you're not using the context-sensitive search in the newer versions of NAV, I think you'll find that it works a lot better than it has in the past, and it's a tool I use a lot. So if I go in and I want to look at the data behind my pipeline, I open up my sales cycle analysis. So this is what feeds that funnel. So this data is what turns into the pretty picture that everybody gets so excited about. And it's important as you think about the CRM is what do we want to get out of it, and what data is going to be required in order to give us those nice dashboards and KPIs that we're looking for. But you can see, so there's my large account that we were looking at a minute ago. There's 5 opportunities that we have there. There's our weighted value. If you scroll through, and you'll see this for every type of opportunity, plus we can see our total pipeline. So, as you build those up and you move opportunities through the various stages, you'll be able to see your progress and your pipeline. The next thing that we're able to do is better communicate with the customers and prospects that we have. And we do that through questionnaires. And so when we build our profile questionnaires, I did that wrong. Questionnaire setup. So I was in a conference several years ago, and there was a woman giving a presentation about mass marketing and social media, and she said, there's a very fine line between mass communication and mass harassment. And, we know enough about the customers that we work with, and we should know enough about the prospects we're trying to sell to begin to communicate with them about things that we believe they have reason to care about. And how we can do that is by profiling people a little more closely. And so if we look here at a company, we can set up questionnaires at a company level that says, hey, how many employees do they have? How are they owned? And these are all set up by you. And we can then look, so if we went and looked at our questionnaire, we can also get a quick glance, hey, within our database, how many of our customers or prospects are on the stock exchange? And again, these are all drillable, so if I click on them, you could drill in there. As a person, I probably want to profile a little differently. I joked with some of the folks on this phone call, but I call it my fake sincerity button. When you work with people, or the number of people that we all do, so there's hundreds and hundreds of folks that you're working with, you want to remember their kids' names. You want to remember a birthday. You want to remember some of their interests maybe outside of work. But it gets really tricky to do that if we don't have some tool to help us with that. And this is another way you could do that. So, male or female, what are their hobbies? Are they married? Do they have a significant other? Education. So you can build these questions any way you like. So you could go in here and start a new question. Do they run current version of NAV? And so then below, we could say answers, is yes and no. And so you sort of get the feel on how you build this out. And so you can begin to profile people just about any way you could think about it. So if you've got folks that work in a particular specialty, or they have a particular department that they work in, if we're going to have a golf outing, it'd be good to know how many of our potential prospects actually like golf. In this case, we've got 86, but we've got 81 that like tennis. So maybe there's a way for us to tailor an outing or tailor some of our gatherings so that we appeal to a larger group of folks. You can see that you can build this out a number of different ways. So lead qualifications, customers versus general prospect information, and all of these help us build marketing campaigns that help us more effectively follow up and track our return on investment. So as we build these, if I go back to a particular contact, you'll see that these profile questions show up on their card. So as I look at Mindy here, I can see that she's an extrovert, she's got a skilled profession, and she's married and she has kids. And so these are things that'll help us maybe interact a little bit better as we're having a conversation. Again, the contact card, a little bit different than the customer card that many of you might be used to seeing. I can see at a glance what's the last time that we actually interacted with Mindy. I could see the last attempt. I can see my next to-do. And if Mindy happened to be on the phone, and so I just picked up a call and she was there, as we were chatting, I could be clicking on these so that I could understand a little bit and maybe help out the sales rep that's been working with them. I could also make a note on here so that they would know, hey, I just talked to Mindy. And I could send that over to Jeff. And so as I had done for myself, and we saw that on my roll center, now this is a note that I sent to Jeff, and it's going to show up right on his roll center, just because I had Mindy on the phone and I was helping her with something else. Again, I could look at any time and I could see all the navigation or all the interactions that we've had with Mindy, and so I can see the proposals that we've sent out. I can see whether we won or we've lost. And so at a glance, I can understand very quickly what's going on with a given customer. So as we begin to market to people, we start to use campaigns. And so in this case, we've got 4 of them set up, but we could look at our increased sale maybe. And so campaigns are set up, and we load them with the people we're going to market to. And so if I load my segments, I can see all the people that I'm going to target in this particular increased sale campaign. And how I went about selecting these folks was by adding the contacts. And so where the benefit to running your NAV system or running the CRM that's built into your NAV is that you have access to this data. So hopefully this filter screen is familiar to all of you. But here's the profile questions that we were talking about. So if we've done a good job in setting up a profile so we know the type of customer we want to talk to, and we know the type of people within the customer we want to tailor our message to, we could go in and pick our particular questions and how they answered them to help us better communicate and make them feel like we've been paying attention. The other thing we can do is look at some value entries. So I could say, hey, show me somebody, maybe I've got a new product that's coming to market, and I know that people, or I think I know anyway, people who currently buy a product from us may likely be interested in this new product. And so I can use my value entries to show me those folks. I can also use this another way, which is, hey, show me everybody who used to buy this product who is no longer buying the product. And so this enables me to build a very targeted campaign list and communicate with people very specifically. And when you do it that way, you're going to find that you have a better ability to convert those folks into opportunities. So once we've been running our campaign, we can go in and look at how we've been doing. And again, we use that in statistics, just like you do with your customers and items now. So for any marketing campaign, I can see how many targets we contacted, how many of them responded, what's the cost, how many opportunities came. Because one thing that executive teams are trying to drill in on more and more is what is the return on investment we're getting from our marketing. And so this is a tool that will help you very much be able to answer those questions and determine, whether your marketing dollars are giving you what you're looking for, or maybe you need to look at reallocating those. So the next thing you can do is mailing groups. And so if I go back to departments, we have the ability to set up mailing groups. So if we do newsletters or mailers of any kind, I can define my mailing groups, and similar to how I set up my contact list, I can attach people to particular mailing groups so that they get the communication I want them to get. And so, if we think about some of our customers in the healthcare industry, they may work with hospitals, they may work with universities, they may work with independent research labs. Well, wouldn't it be great if I could take content and have a slightly different newsletter that went out to each group so that it really was tailored to them? And this is a way that you could do that with your mailing groups. So Abby, I'm going to stop and take a breath. I've been talking pretty fast and pretty quickly, but do we have any questions that have come in so far? Abby, are you there? Did I lose you?
I am here, Tom. I'm sorry. Will you repeat your question?
Just making sure that nobody had questions before I went on.
No questions so far.
Okay. So there's a few other things that I think make a big impact as to why you might consider using the CRM that's built within your NAV. One is that as you begin to do analysis, you're going to want to have access to item data, to customer data, and how we actually go through the analysis between what people are buying and how we want to try to encourage them to purchase more, or even take a moment and thank them for the things that they have bought. And so because this system is all integrated, You can use your analysis by dimensions reports. You can do sales analysis reports, and all of these have access to all of your NAV data. So if you're looking at a Salesforce.com or even a dynamic CRM, even though there is integration available with each of those products, it's a very basic integration. It is not going to be the kind of deep integration you're going to get from working within a single database. And so the advantage that you get in using relationship management is really twofold. One is it's free. You already own it. So, other than possibly doing some self-study on your own or talking with your partner and getting a little bit of training, you're not going to have to spend any money in order to begin to use this CRM system. One thing that is a bit of a sad fact, but CRM systems have a larger failure rate than almost any other software implementation in the business world. And so nearly 70% of CRM implementations fail to meet their original objectives. And it's because when you implement your main ERP, however painful and that process might be, the fact is when you get done, someone can't just choose not to post invoices. People can't just choose not to enter a sales order or to close a period. The business won't function if we don't actually follow those processes. But with CRM, it's a lot more nuanced. If I don't enter my activities or I don't enter my to-dos, well, nothing really happens. The business doesn't come to a screeching halt. And so we have to make sure that we have a clear vision for why we're implementing the CRM. We need to make sure that we have executive support for the outcomes that we're looking for so that we can begin to encourage and enforce adoption among our sales and customer service teams. And so if you use the system that you have now, then your investment in this process is really low. And so should you decide that down the road you want to have a different solution for some reason, it would be nice to know that you've proved to yourself that you'd actually use the system you have now. The other thing that Microsoft has done, and my screen won't do it justice, but if you're interested, speak to your partner, or if you're a current Innovia customer, speak with your account manager. But it has full tablet and phone integration. So what that means is that when you actually download the app from the App Store, so if you go to the App Store, you will see a tablet app and a phone app for Dynamics NAV. And these are native phone and native tablet applications. So your field people will get an application that's touch sensitive, that's formatted for the screens that they're using. It isn't sort of a shoehorned screen that is basically a desktop application that's pushed out for them to try to use in the field, which doesn't always work all that well. All right, I think that covers our presentation this morning. Abby, any questions coming in?
We do have a few questions here, Tom. Our first question, does anything we saw this morning cost extra?
So the short answer is no, with the possible exception in the Power BI report that I showed early on, that while Power BI is free, if you need the professional version, and what dictates whether you need the professional version or the free version has to do largely with whether you're actually going to be the designer of the reports and how often you want your report to refresh. So if you are a consumer of the standard data and your report refreshes once a day and that's good enough for you, then the free version will work and everything I've showed you is free or included in the product you already purchased.
Okay, great. Our next question, does Power BI automatically link to NAV?
So I tried to show that a little bit, but just maybe I went too quickly, so I'll show it just one more time. So when we go back, and I'll back up because I'm already on the integration screen. So when I go back to one of my reports, and I want to connect to data, I click that connect button, and it says, where are you going to get your data? And you can get it from any number of places. So, you know, I'm guessing that all of you are NAV users, but assuming that you have data outside of your NAV system, you could connect to other databases as well. But in this case, you scroll down, you find your Dynamics NAV, you hit connect, and it's going to ask you for your OData feed. You enter that OData feed, and you will be connected to your database. So it is virtually automatic for the newer versions of NAV. If you're running an older version of NAV, then it's going to take a little bit of work from either your IT department or your partner, but it's not a massive project.
All right, and we have one more question here. Why would we choose this over Dynamics CRM?
I think there's probably a couple of reasons that I would think of. So assuming you're a NAV user, right? So if you're a NAV user, then the main reason you would choose is because you already own it. The second reason that supports that is that the failure rate on CRM implementations is astronomical. And so as business executives and owners, you have the opportunity to prove to yourselves that you will actually use a CRM system without actually investing any additional money in it. And then the third would be that the integration is simply unparalleled. So even though Dynamics CRM has some pre-built links to NAV, it is not at the level of being in the same database. And so you're going to get better integration with your standard NAV system. And then, you know, lastly, even though CRM online has come way down in price, it is going to cost you more money.
Okay, well, that looks like all the questions we have. If anyone has any final questions, feel free to type them in. And of course, I just want to remind everybody we did record this session. So if you want to review it, if you want someone else in your organization to be able to view it, it will be up by this afternoon on our website, which is innovia.com.
Okay, well, thanks everyone. I hope that you found the session helpful, and I'll look forward to seeing you at some point in the future.